Good afternoon. Call to order the regular meeting of the Tiki Island City Council on Tuesday, January 17th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Public Safety Building. Roll call. Telchik here. Nevlin.
Here.
Cunningham.
Here.
Deloso.
Here.
Kalichek. Here. Kaufman. Would y'all please stand and say pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Citizen comments on agenda items only. Must be signed in on sign-up sheet, limited to 2 minutes. Don, you want to introduce yourself to them?
Sure.
To the council?
Sure. Hi. For anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Don Johnson, and I am a representative for all the cities in Galveston County at the Harris-Galveston Subsistence District. And I came by here this afternoon because I helped work with the district to develop this little kind of handout. And it answers a lot of the major questions that we get about what is the subsistence district, what are you trying to do, why are you doing it, and all this kind of thing. The extra page that I put in here, essentially it shows you the different cities, how much groundwater they're asking to use, how much they're actually using, and then I've established a rebate program where if you don't use all your groundwater, you can actually get a refund of your permit fees. So that's become pretty popular. Get back some of the money from one of these entities. I'm not going to take up a lot of time tonight. I'm going to leave this with you. But I did want to let you know that we're always open to coming down and doing a full-blown presentation for everybody that wants it. Big City asked for a presentation. We gave them one. We're going to be doing one for Santa Fe. If y'all would like us to come down sometime, whether it's at this kind of a forum or any kind of forum, and bring the general manager down and read the slides down and answer all sorts of questions about the subject, we'd be glad to do it. And we don't need to worry too much. We pretty much got things under control right now, which is as opposed to years ago. We don't see a whole lot of sometimes. We have monitoring stations everywhere, and we watch this very closely. But we're very sensitive to that. Anyway, if y'all ever want us to come down and explain more, we'd be happy to do it. And I also wanted to thank y'all for the appointment letter y'all recently sent in. I'm not quite ready to leave. I'm ready to go do another 2-year term, and I think enough cities have now sent appointments letter in that'll be possible. I'll be there for at least 2 more years. So thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you for serving.
Thank you for coming. Consent agenda. All items marked with a single asterisk on the consent agenda are considered routine by the city council and be acted upon in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests it. A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on November the 18th, 2022 and special meeting on December 14th, 2022. B, secretary treasurer's report, payment of bills for November and December 2022. C, investment officer's report for November and December 2022. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mayor's report, we're going to cover that when we get into this bulkhead stuff. So I'm going straight to the alderman. Nevlin.
Just a brief update on the road situation. We completed in December our crack sealing on our newer asphalt roads to preserve the integrity of those surfaces. And we continue to work on the damage to the bridge on the oncoming section, primarily where there's that chunk of concrete taken out. It's more complicated than just pouring some fresh concrete in there. We have identified a contractor, got a friendly engineer with Goldie's help to tell the contractor how to do it. And the contractor said, thanks, I appreciate that, but what I really need is some stamped drawings. So we've gone back to the engineer to get approved plans and stamped drawings so the contractor can proceed. And if all goes as planned, I will have a proposal for the repair to the stamped drawings by the next meeting.
All right, thank you. Cunningham.
Nothing to report this morning.
Deloso.
Couple things. I passed out a summary of the cost that we've spent so far on the dredging project. With the help of Randy, we really put together a little breakdown here. It shows you the certificate of obligation. We started off with our 8 million, and then we go down to each of the expenses and see the bank fees. Now, the first one, the big one, there, the 506,000. That's the money we're reimbursing ourselves for the upfront money we did on the dredging project. Apollo, you can see their bid there. I'll put it in the parentheses of 4.7 million. They have spent 643,000. The breakwater, we haven't started anything yet. They're waiting to get dredging over there in that area so they can get their barges there. But their bid was 1.388. Atkins, the management supervision of the project, they've spent 29,000 of the 298 that they projected. The attorneys and the bond fees have been paid. So the total we paid is $1,280,747, with the remainder of $6,719,253. I've also included on the bottom on the left the contingency fees that are part of the package. Now, what we'll do each month, we'll update these numbers and pass them out at the beginning of every meeting so everybody can keep track of how we're doing on the expenses for the dredging project. Well, that's that. Just another item real quick on the budget. Sales tax is coming in rather higher than we have projected, which is good. The new construction is also up. The remodeling is down. The taxes are a little bit slow. People are dragging their feet a little bit on paying the taxes. Of course, it's not delinquent until the end of this month. And the interest on our money is really going up a lot from what we projected because of the interest increases in the interest in general on the bonds. So overall, the budget is doing just fine. That's it.
Thank you. Candidate.
The only thing I have is, we didn't have a meeting in December. I just wanted, we did our Tiki did their Christmas parade. I helped with it, and it turned out to be a huge success. And I want to thank the village for their help, and Tika and everybody else participated and come out. It was a big crowd, and I think they're looking forward to doing it again next year. So, and we haven't decided if we're going to take the Christmas tree down or just put Mardi Gras lights on it.
All right, thank you.
We'll try and get that down this weekend.
All right, thank you. All right, Copeland's not here. Reports and presentations, fire department.
Yes, sir. We've had, as far as responses, we've had 6 medical, 1 injury, 7 lip assists, 1 MVA for a total of 15. 0 major fires, 3 minor fires, and 1 alarm for a total of 4. 3 power lines and 2 miscellaneous for a total of 5. We've given 3 mutual aids and received 0 for a total of 3. Canceled en route 1 and false alarms 1 for a total of 29 calls. Engine 1 status is in service. Rescue 1 status is in service. We're waiting on delivery for the squad 1. The grant has been approved, FEMA AFG. We borrowed Santa Fe's engine until engine 1 arrived back in service today. Had 3 minor fires with 2 being just smoke, no fires right.
Thank you. Police department report.
Calls for the number, December 2022, 5 alarms, 15 agency assists, 13 citizens assists, 1 community outreach, 1 disturbance, 12 fire EMS calls, 4 fireworks, 3 loud music, 3 mental health, 1 silent 911, 2 suspicious circumstances, 4 suspicious persons, 2 suspicious vehicles, 7 traffic stop citations, 14 traffic stops, warnings, 1 trespassing, 2 violations of city ordinance, total of 90 calls and 1 arrest.
Thank you. Building inspector's report.
11 new homes currently under construction, 1 new permit, 1 new house plan under review, 69 permits issued, 81 permits closed, 3 plats, 1 for review, 1 recorded. Finished up my continuing ed hours and submitted for the floodplain manager license. Those will take care of ordinance reviews with Ray continued. Marina plan reviews for the 8 villas continue. Non-compliance ordinance issued, 6 red tag notices, 2 body streets, 1 substandard structure letters, 10 site reviews, 5 by complaint, efforts to continue ordinance violations for substandard non-compliant conditions. The CRS ISO report received approval letter for the major 5-year recertification, maintaining class 7. Tiki meeting, site reviews, collecting of fees, and application continued. Steve Hoffman, Bill Robinson, and Ben Falk as representatives. Business as usual for the rest of them.
Thank you. Ordinance Review Committee. Okay, thank you.
I can comment.
Oh, sorry.
There was a little bit of a blow up recently about fishing lights. So I don't know, the aldermen have to initiate that, but before it becomes maybe a bigger issue, you might want to consider out the overhead fishing lights reflecting on other. There was a little bit of a kind of a little.
Okay. Please, can you give us more information on that in citizen comments at the end?
Mm-hmm.
Please. Thank you. Emergency Management Report. Will you come up here and thank you.
Since the last meeting in November, started hurricane prep for this year. Working on our certification from Texas Emergency Management. Attended the Logistics Section Chief class in Cyprus, December 14th, jurisdictional meeting with the county. Last week I was in a training class so I can teach FEMA classes, and had a check-in DMO virtual training today for the Texas incident management team. Because I coming up, I got class next week for warning coordination. Meeting with the Texas City Lamarck Community Advisory Council. Educational meeting with Texas City and Hitchcock ISD with the Emergency Management Office. TDM's got a hazard mitigation town hall meeting they're going to virtual. And for everybody, National Weather Service is going to have a Skywarn training program down in Lake City on February the 2nd from 6:30 to 8:30. And that's to be weather watchers. You can report things that you see to them. And that enables them to make a better forecast and to get warnings out for things that they don't see through the big golf ball. That's all.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. Animal control report in the packet. We're gonna go to number 7, general business and action items, and I'm going to move E in front of A, so Rhonda and then can get their report on and go. So E is Rhonda Granby project for members of the board and citizens.
Good evening, everybody. I brought Tim Elms, who is owner and contractor, excellent contractor for the project. Lots of patience. So, I'm not gonna use my Murphy's Law statement, but I'm gonna use my Murphy's Law statement, and it's been one of those, if it can happen, it has happened. Y'all are aware we've had quite a bit of weather, and, we're working with big equipment that's out in the water, and so we do have to be observant of the weather days, including wind. And we've had some of the highest winds, foggy conditions, you name it, and so those create down days for the work that's going on out there. The first task for the project, Vanna, if you will, is to build the BUDM area. This is cell B, this is cell A. Cell B is already in place, and our tasks in cell B were to create an artificial berm across this westernmost end of the BUDM area to serve as block for sediment to hit this oyster reef on this side. The second task was to build up the height of the outer rim of cell B to about 7 feet. And then the third task is to build the earthen berm that rings the beneficial use area and then armor it with rock. And so, what's been completed so far is, if you're out in a boat, you'll see it. This levee has been built. This levee has been raised. And then Tim's been attempting to work in cell A, and the material just hasn't stacked like it did the last time we did the project. We've had sloughing, and they've dug around and tried to find better material, because our goal is to get material out of cell A and use it to build this levee. And it's just not, the material just hasn't been cooperating. I don't know, there's no technical term for it. It's just been sloughing. And so we put heads together with Tim and come up with an alternative plan on site. Our engineers have reviewed those plans, and we're going to be building, instead of the base being the material out of the middle of the area, we're going to go ahead and build a solid rock structure. We think we've got enough rock to do what we're doing. We have a good solid base. They pulled up the base of that levee up about a foot and a half out of mean water, and so that'll be the base. We'll lay filter cloth on the inside, and then we'll get our height from the inside up, but we'll be stacking on top of rock just like we did on this side. So that's our alternative plan. We're about 4 weeks or so behind schedule, just with the weather and materials. You know, all those supply chain issues that you're hearing about for everything, including the price of eggs. You know, we get those in our construction world as well. So the rocks have been delivered in Houston. They're on barges coming down the Houston Ship Channel, and that was great last week till the fog started. So now they're in line, waiting their turn to finish their route from Houston to Galveston under the bridge and to us. You'll notice Tim has a staging barge set up to the east, to the south of the Intercoastal Waterway. He's using that for loading a large load of rock, and then they'll be ferrying with smaller barges in and out. So you're going to start seeing a lot of barge traffic coming in and out. And we're going to build this in segments and watch it and see how it performs. We don't anticipate any other issues. Tracy and Ray have been out there on the site with me and taking a look at what's going on. So we'll be watching as we build the levee around. As soon as that levee is finished, then we can actually start the dredge portion of the work. And we both would like to say we don't anticipate any hiccups, but I'm not going to say that, because we've had about every hiccup that you could have. But I have to commend Tim and his team. They've weathered the weather with us. They've held fast. It's been a safe project. It's been hairy. There's no other word to describe what's been going on. They've got large equipment out there, barges that can float all over the place, and they've done everything they can to maintain a safe project and try to keep us on schedule as best they can. We are going to start the dredging over here in what we're calling Canal J, which is the canal closest to the Intercoastal, so that can be completed and the breakwater construction can commence immediately behind that. Nothing has changed about our early warning system. There will be a sign posted on this property out by the road. It'll give you a 2-week ahead notice. Brandy will be sending things out through y'all's messaging, plus we'll have it posted on the website. Everyone will know when the dredge is going to be in their canal. I will repeat, there's no boat traffic in your canal when the dredge is working in your canal. It's closed for the period of time that they're in there working. And that's just for safety for you, safety for your kids, safety for your good toys. We just don't want any traffic when they're in there working. Some of the best management practices of the permit require that we keep a silt fence, a floating silt fence across the end of the canal, so you really can't get in and out. Once the dredge is in there working, that area will be closed. We'll let everybody know 2 weeks out, so you can get your crab traps, you can get your fishing lights, you can get any of your accoutrement that may be around your boathouse out of the water, so it's not in our work area. No dredging under anyone's boathouse. There will not be any dredging under anyone's boathouse under any circumstance. They have a path down the center of the canals, and they will stay within, that footprint. Let me see if I missed anything. The rocks are coming. I think we should all crack a bottle of champagne when we see the first one roll under that bridge. Tim will let us know when it's close. I think that's about it. Are there any questions for me?
Pilings for the breakwater? How are we doing on pilings for the breakwater?
I just haven't checked. They were coming in increments and going to be staged here. So that's a good one for me to check and give y'all a call back on that.
Did you tell
I've
them what
been
we done, Rhonda, over
hyper-focused
there?
on rocks.
Tell them what we done about the wood versus what we have now.
Oh, good point, good point. The wood pilings were going to be an exorbitant stretch timeline to get treated wood pilings, months and months, to get enough pilings to build the structure. So, the contractor suggested an alternate for a composite pile. And so we went back through its specifications and the engineers cleared it. So there's longevity in a composite pile. And that is what's going to be used for the structure. So it will have a composite pile. Those are being constructed and stacked, so we have them available to us as we're ready for them to go out.
When do you think you'll start on, Jay? As soon as we have to get the BDUM.
Right, we're
Yeah.
hoping February
Okay.
is what we're hoping, mid to end of February to start dredging.
You only
Love how they do that to you, Tim. Did I put you on the spot?
Your only dump site is out there, right?
Yeah.
Correct. The only location, and it's not a dump site, it's a beneficial use site.
It's a bird island, Goldie.
Goldie. Shame. Anyways, the only place material is being placed in this project is in our beneficial use of dredge material location. It will be filled to the top. It's gonna be a solid faced bird island, this area, if you will. There will be a piping structure that comes through here. There will be a weir structure, which is another word for a drain on this corner. This is the same corner we used the last time we dredged to dewater the material. The solids will fall out in cell A. Silty material will fall out in cell B. And then water effluent will be coming out that weir. This is our safety catch basin to catch most of the silty things before they have a chance to run out into the bay. So this is our major area to catch material, secondary area, and then the effluent comes out in the bay in this lower corner.
Okay, you're gonna be mechanically dredging and pumping out there.
Mechanically dredging, it's doing a little bit different this time. There will be a mechanical piece of equipment on a barge in your canal. It'll be scooping the material and placing on a barge. That barge will switch.
Switch?
Let's switch. Let's just take J, for example. There will be a barge that'll come in here. It'll be scooping the material. It'll load the material on a barge. That barge will come out. It'll come around the island into this area where there's going to be a barge receiving that material. That material will be hydrolyzed and it will be pumped out to the BUDM area. So the only pumping that's going on is going to be in this area. Here's where the pipeline will be. It'll go out to the BUDM area. So you're not going to be hearing a grinding dredge all day long. It won't be the same kind of noise that you had the last time.
And we won't have a pipe running around the
And
island.
you're not going to have a pipe running
It's in the way of your
around
boat.
the island. This
Yeah.
area is very shallow. I don't know how many of y'all run out here anyways, but a lot of oysters are out there. So the pipe is only in this pipeline corridor that runs out to the beneficial use area. So no pipeline ringing the island this time.
Is anybody gonna tell the people in Bayou Vista that run through there at 50 miles an hour?
They'll learn the first rule. They'll learn the first time.
To tell you the truth, the other day, we were out there in a boat, we were all talking, and then up out of nowhere, a boat just scooted right by us, scared us
That's a
all to
major
death.
cut through for Bayou Vista people.
In here?
Cut, well, no, parallel to the island. They cut right through where you're talking about, headed to Bayou, no, other direction, east, west.
East and west.
See the multicolored canal?
Yes.
They go from there, the middle of that, they shoot across there and they go parallel to the island.
This way?
No, the other way.
This way?
And yeah, and then they shoot over by Vista. So anyway, I'm just telling you that a lot of people go through there.
Tim?
We'll have lights and signs on the pipeline.
Yeah.
They'll only hit it once.
But see, you won't be able to submerge it because it's too shallow, right? So
Right.
it'll be a no boat area.
Right.
You're right. They'll only go through there once.
That's exactly right.
Well, my neighbor,
It'll be well marked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Coast Guard requires that.
Yes.
All right, any questions for Rhonda?
I have
Yes,
a question. The requirement to add the rocks, the stone, is that a change order?
No, we were already armoring. Before, we intended to have a solid berm of earth material. And then the outside edge of that earthen levee would have been armored with the stone. We're using all the same stone, but instead of building the entire berm, the trapezoidal figure first, we're building that out of rock first. And then we're gonna add the earthen material on top to get our height. So we're building a solid rock structure rather than an earthen structure with just rock on the outside.
What about the composite pilings? Is that a change order?
Nope.
There's a month, the breakwater, they can't start the breakwater until they drill that area in the front because.
Yeah.
Can't float the barge in there.
So that'll be one of the first things that gets drilled, so they can start the breakwater.
No, neither one of those are change orders. We're hoping that we've already done calculations on it and it looks like the rock is about even Steven. So, especially since he has a base that's come up out of the water. Before we were submerged, and so you'd be bringing that toe of rock from 2 feet below surface all the way up. And so now we have a base material that's above water, mean water, and they'll be building on top of that. So, tit for tat, kind of a thing.
And is the barge laden with dredge material, is it gonna go right along the houses on Tiki Island, or is it gonna go back out to the elevator coastal and cut across?
Yeah, probably both. Depends on what, we're gonna start on the east side first. And if it's safer and faster for us to take out toward the bridge and take that direction, probably more than likely gonna go along the house.
Well, there's an S turn over here to be kind of interesting. I don't know how big this barge is, but when you come across this existing breakwater and you go towards the houses, there's kind of like an S turn you gotta make,
Yes.
which would be interesting with the barge.
We have a 50-foot variety of barges. Some are 120 feet long, some are 50 feet long. So if we get tight turns like that, we can use the shorter ones.
There have been questions, is this you over here on the other side of the causeway?
No, that's not us.
What are they doing there?
Not us.
It showed up over the weekend.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Rhonda.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ryan.
We won't be.
All right, we're gonna go back to 8, discuss some possible action on status of the bulkhead at the marina property. Give me a motion to discuss.
motion discussed.
All right, open for discussion.
Okay. You want to go ahead?
No, go ahead.
So I think we've been at the last, or not the last meeting, about 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, Olson & Olson sent the developer a letter stating that, we needed to do something about the bulkhead, face some legal action possibly. So we're at that, I believe, I don't know, have the exact date, but I think we're about at that 3 months, John, pretty close.
I think we're well past.
Over the past 3 months. So I guess my question is, what is the status, or what is our next step? Because in that time frame, this, I haven't heard anything about it. I don't know if they contacted the village in response to that letter, or they contacted y'all's office. But the only thing that we've had is a letter that was sent to the residents, I think some by mail, some of them, and a copy of this was in our local paper. And the wording, to me, it looks like they're just blowing smoke. That's just my opinion. I'm excited to also let you know that just this week, Legend officially approved the initial phase of bulkhead repair that will dovetail with the work you see now, which is what they're talking about, the dredging project, which has nothing to do with each other. specific over the coming months, we're repairing the bulkhead along the eastern edge of the site. That bulkhead that phase was approved a long time ago. So, you know, why are they just telling us that now? And then it's, you know, they use the word in the coming months. And then Liz has a full page in her paper, and that on the bottom of it, marina update, bulkhead repair timeline 2023, with an asterisk, which is a disclaimer, says not exact final build condition or exact timeline. So is that not exact timeline? Is that 2023, 24, 25? They're not answering any of our questions. They're just trying to please everybody, but it's the way it comes across to me. So what is our next step with them to see? I mean, me personally, I would be satisfied with a PO for bulkhead material or, not bulkhead, bulkhead material, or, you know, shows that you know, put out for bids. Just show us something that you know, other than making statements like this. So, I mean, I'm not sure which direction we should go. We need to pursue it, in my opinion, but I'm not sure what the next step is.
Okay. So let me butt in right quick. So last week we got a phone call and from Hayes, and they have secured a contractor. They have also written a letter to the engineer, which the village of Tiki Island approves vinyl bulkheads. They were gonna go, there was talk about going with fiberglass bulkhead. Now they're back into going with a vinyl bulkhead. As long as it meets the specs, it's in our, we can have it due to our orders. So they said that they have chosen the contractor. They are trying to get with the engineer now to get the specifications from fiberglass to vinyl. From what I'm understanding, there's a little lack of communication right now there. But they have, the only thing they've told us is they have had that and they're going ahead with to get a vinyl order as soon as the engineer complies with their request and gives them the structural requirements that they need for the vinyl.
Okay. And that's good news. I mean, you know,
Yeah, this was just last week. We
yeah,
waited.
and I think, I don't know if you told me or something, I think that they acquired financing. Did I hear that somewhere?
No, what they had talked about that day was that they had enough here on the villas that they were gonna start the bill. They moved from the condos, they were telling us, okay? They moved to the villas and they had enough, down payments to move forward for all 8 of those for the bank to give them financing. And that was where they were gonna get their 500 or 600,000 added to it to do those villas.
Okay.
So again, going back to it, maybe we should give them another warning letter. It's up to council, is to go ahead and write them another warning letter, say, hey, you're past your due date, and maybe give us the contractor's name, give us a little more status in a written letter instead of verbal phone call.
Have we issued a permit for the bulkhead?
Yeah, it just expired.
That's my next question.
And the specs I had then, it sounds like they're changing gears,
Yeah.
so I would think.
Yeah, so it'd be appropriate to send, a letter saying, by the way, your permit expired. We'd like an update. We hear you have a contractor. We'd like to see a copy of the
Instead of giving a
contract.
verbal conversation to me, I think they ought to write a letter to the board.
Yeah,
And then that way y'all will have it in writing.
Yeah.
Instead of coming from secondhand to thirdhand information.
yeah.
Right. And
So if
is
the
it
attorney
possible-
could write them a letter telling them that, to give us a letter, that would be great. And then that way you'll know where you're at.
Right. And is it possible, John, to share that letter with us? I know you probably can't do it as a group, but can you send 5 individual emails so all of them, so we don't come to a meeting not knowing what happened in the prior 3 months?
I mean, I can do it either way. You talking about before I send it out or after?
No, just whatever their response is to the letter that you're gonna
They want
send,
to
can you
reply?
send that
Yeah, I mean, I
response to
would-
all of us?
Sure, absolutely. If I
So-
get,
so we can say-
if we get a reply,
If you get a reply.
yeah, and I certainly can send you the letter that goes out. So my understanding is we want to, not that it's been very effective so far, to threaten them again with municipal court fines or maybe civil penalties if they don't do
And then an
something.
update on
And
it.
say, in the meantime, give us an update and maybe we'll hold off. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think our threats have caused them to shake in their boots, so.
No, but what they can do is send it out to the alderman. Once you get it, send it out to the alderman, then we can wait and discuss it in a meeting.
You know,
But at least you'll know when you come to the meeting what you're
And it'd be
getting.
nice if you can just, I mean, the letter's fine, but if you can, prior to this meeting every month, a couple days before, call Bill Hayes or whoever you talk to up there and say, hey, can you give us an update? Where's our status right now?
We told him that the last time we talked, that he was gonna get us a letter with a status on it, and it hadn't come through yet.
And John, you also, the letter we sent them also should have a due date. If we want to get a status by 2 weeks from now or something, otherwise it's open-ended. And that'll be
No, I could put one in, but of course we had one in before. The bad things are gonna happen if you don't do something by X date, and X date has passed and nothing bad has happened, so at some point in time,
At least don't open it, so.
at some point in time, they're empty threats, so.
Yeah.
Can we say in the letter that we are finding you and we're tacking onto your permit?
So, I mean, if we're gonna fine them, we have to go through some established process, either municipal court, criminal fines in
Okay.
municipal court, or we could sue them and seek civil penalties for violation.
Okay.
Then you're gonna start paying tax dollars
Yeah.
for lawsuits again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
All right, any other discussion on this?
No.
All right,
Can I ask a question or should I save it for the?
save it for citizen comment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, let's, get a motion for the letter.
Motion to direct me to send the letter out.
I make a motion, we get Olson Olson, send a letter out to living communities, on the bulkhead.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. B, discuss a possible action to approve website posting policy. Y'all have this in your handout in your package. So let me get a motion to discuss, please.
Motion to discuss.
All right, it's open for discussion.
I can start. The new website's up, so thanks to Brandy and Steve Gattletrek for getting that going. It looks really good. It's way improved. A couple meetings ago, we discussed a website policy as far as what we're going to post. And most of this is regarding community events. We want to have a community calendar on the website where residents can go and see what's happening in the community. So we took, I believe it was John's recommendation, we took the existing policy, we tweaked it a little bit, had John look at it. He made a couple more changes and we were good to go. But between that meeting, or that work and this meeting, another paragraph was added that I'm a little concerned is a little too restrictive.
Which paragraph?
That's in item number 2, Communications Committee number 3. Roman numeral 2, then item 3.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's a little restrictive in that it spells out these are the only organizations that we can post anything on the website for. That was not really the intent. The intent was for it to be more community events that we could post on there. So we can discuss that today, or we could go back, Steve and I could go back and rewrite this and bring it back next month with a revised paragraph there. But do you want to give us any feedback?
I had a paragraph that clearly stated the way that paragraph was written. So I think that's more than what the intent. I think of what the committee was supposed to be, a communication committee. You're talking about getting into everybody else's knickers here, fire department, the water department, Tiki and all that. I don't think it was the intent to do that. And the same thing with the end back here, it says that anybody that puts anything on the water authority website or the volunteer fire department or the police department or the civic association has to be approved by this committee. And that's not exactly what we were planning on doing, so that needs to be cleaned up. And I don't know who this web page editor is, who that's supposed to be, it doesn't say.
That's the
John McCormick.
police officer that volunteered
And
to
it
help us.
says that information posted to an entity page must be approved by the committee. And the entity pages include all the other sites, the water department, the
Robert Ray, I think that's talking
fire
about,
department, everybody
that's
else.
talking about the extent of pages hosted by the city.
That's their,
Not their own, not
Well,
their own
this
independent
says,
pages.
this specifically says it defines an entity as a water department, the Tiki, and then it says anybody puts anything on an entity has to be approved by them.
But that's to the extent the entity has a web page hosted by the city, not their own web pages.
I understand, but they're approving, they want to approve anything that goes on the entity's website. The water department is on our website, and they put stuff on there and take it off. We don't control that. According to this, they have to approve it. And that's not what we want. We don't want to do that,
Have
no.
your policy however you want. So.
And then
Ray, which, just for the record, what number was that?
That's the very last one.
The very last one?
Well, that was number 6 on 7, Roman numeral 7, number 6.
Okay.
You know, I think you guys wanted to be a communication group where you communicate events that are going on. Let's just kind of keep it to that. I think
Yeah.
we're kind of getting too far. Well, we're trying to control everybody's nucleus.
That was the intent.
Yeah, right. So I'll be happy to work with you too if you want. We can kind of work together and get something put together. We can bring it back, clean it up a little bit.
So does the city currently host Tika's website as opposed to Tika hosting its own?
Correct.
They have, well,
So there is no separate Tika website, there's only the.
They have a page
going on to
within
the
our
website.
You go to the website, you pick out each
and they
individual
put their
police
stuff
department,
on there,
whatever.
take it off independently of us. We don't get involved in it. And same thing with the water department. And the building department, they have their own thing too. We don't really mess with it. But anyway, I think we clean it up, come up with something that I think everybody likes.
Personally, I mean, I don't have an issue. I mean, that was just put in there because people felt uncomfortable about it. So that's why I put it in there. But, I mean, I don't disagree with you, Ray. I mean, if I can't trust Tika or Pam at the Water District or Rachel, whoever it is, or Adrian, or whoever is allowed to post on those, if we can't trust it, we can't, but I don't have a problem taking that off. Let those people put on there what they want on there, so we don't have to police it. But the concern with number 3, under number 2, under the communications committee, the way that it was changed to the wording it is now takes away from the calendar though. The information that we want to put on the calendar, it takes away from that.
You're talking about it's too narrow. The new language is too narrow.
Yes, it eliminates, because, Steve and I discussed this for a long time, and this policy was done, we started this before Thanksgiving, and you signed off on it, the second week, the first week of December, so that's how long it's been done. And now we changed it here, a few days before this meeting, but it limits those, so Brandy has put on all the stuff, I got a long list, I spent a lot of time talking to all these people out here, emails, phone calls, text messages, to put this calendar together, all the events that all the people of this island could benefit from, to put on that calendar. But now we want to eliminate, Steve and I talked about, we want the church services on there, we want the vacation Bible school, we want the Tiki in the church and state. The only time you have the problem with the church and state, if another church was to move in here of a different denomination and start a church up, you have to give them the same thing as you do.
I have to defend myself. I don't remember anybody even asking me about that.
No, it wasn't you. It wasn't you. It was,
Okay.
it was 2 days old.
It was David.
You were retired.
Yeah, so my concern with web pages, and y'all aren't doing this, is the ones where you have basically the citizen comments, because you can have a citizen comment that is extremely offensive and be forced to leave it on your website. And one of the cases was out there, said something horrible about a police officer who'd been killed. It was on the police department's website, and they could not take it off because of issues about First Amendment and all that. But my understanding is the city doesn't plan on opening up the website to put citizens put comments on it. So that was the only issue that I raised about that.
Okay, let me ask y'all a question. So if you're gonna let, and this is just being devil's advocate, if you're gonna let everybody put their posting on there that we're gonna have a ladies lunch bunch on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of every month, and we're gonna have the garden club doing this, that, and other, and you're gonna have Christmas tree lighting and everything, and you're gonna allow them to do that, what happens if somebody comes in and wants to do, you're gonna have to accommodate everybody. So what happens if somebody comes in and wants to do something that's really not, I mean, like if we won't have a poker game at Heartbreakers, you're gonna put it on. Well, I'm just saying, everybody's got a right to it. If you're gonna you're not gonna pick and choose what citizen you can tell to put their lunch bunch on there or
No,
whatever.
these are established groups that have been on Tiki forever. And that's the only reason they're out there. The cornhole tournaments, they want to list the cornhole tournaments in there. That's stuff that benefits the community. Because you go to Tiki Facebook page, there's always new people living in this island. They're always asking, I wish I knew the ladies' social was last Thursday. I just moved here, I don't know that. That's the whole thing behind it's a community calendar, events calendar for the year.
I don't think anybody argued against it. You just need, if you want to.
Yeah.
But maybe there's like a morality clause or something.
We haven't worked on this, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's what I'd hoped you would do with your policy, which is define the kind of events that are allowed to be on there, so it does, and as long as you have a written policy and you apply it without
Just make a
discrimination.
list of the things you want to put on there, and that's your list.
Yeah, so for instance, if you're not careful, you end up being, everybody puts their motorcycles for sale, and maybe you want to put that on there, I don't know, but, as long as you do that, as long as you do it without discriminating, it's not an issue.
Just get together, put a list of if you
Yeah,
want.
but I'd like to bring up a point on that. Okay, so you have that, you're going to post it. What is everybody that wants to do it gonna do? They're gonna call City Hall. Well, how do I join this? How do I do that? I don't know.
I've already put out a Facebook post on that.
Well, and how come they don't do it on Facebook?
They do.
It needs to be on the webpage, something needs to be on there.
This is just a calendar. All the information, like you asked me, there's a drop down, you click on that city council meeting at 7:30, and it gives you more information in that drop down box once you click on that date on the calendar. So I didn't put those times in there because some of, like the fire department barbecue, there's not, there's times that are not set in stone yet. So that's why when it gets closer, we just get you or whoever add it to the calendar.
That's a lot, that.
So
We're gonna have to keep going back and.
That's the whole purpose of John volunteering his time to do that.
But if John's not here, and I understand that, John will do it, but if John's not here, it's gonna fall back to somebody else.
Steve, why don't you put on there, if you have a garden club is gonna meet such and such, contact so-and-so for information. That way you have it.
Yeah, that's the purpose behind it.
And that's the whole idea, just put a representative on.
I think Brandy's talking when somebody wants to add
All I'm
something.
saying is no other city does. No other city does.
Just, put a reference of somebody on there that you contact when someone wants to know about it, that's all. So just come up with this.
Like I said in my post on Facebook, this is, do not call, none of the events on that calendar is sanctioned and sponsored by the village. So do not call the village for information.
So you can put that on there too.
And especially if
You
you
can put
list
that on the
phone
website.
numbers that they can call or contact.
Yeah,
Then
okay.
it should cut down on the calls.
So let's work on it a little bit,
Okay.
I think we'll get there.
All right, so what we need to do is let's get a motion.
I'll make a motion, we defer this to the next meeting. We'll update this and bring it back for approval.
Okay, can I get a second? All in favor? Motion is approved. Discuss and possible action to approve replats on lot 80 and 81 in section 1, numbers 1247 and 1251 Oahu. Motion to discuss.
I'll make a motion to discuss. What this is purchase 10 feet of the other guy's property to expand his bulkhead, make it longer. The property took the property away from him, still meets the 10-foot bill line and all the easements, so it's all clean. Darrell has reviewed it, and he's got copies of the survey, the house that's next door, which the property is getting taken away from. And everything seems to be in order, pretty straightforward. The guy's property next door.
All right, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Steve? Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. D, discuss and consider signage for the pizza kiosk at Tiki Plaza. Proposed sign will be lighted and affixed to the top of the kiosk. No rendering no rendering or exact size was known at the time of the posting. All right, let's get a motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
Okay, go ahead.
So at the time, the simple thing is for the agenda, that was one of the things they were wanting to do to try and increase their sales, is to get a small, what I was told, a small lighted sign kind of facing the feeder road, where people on the feeder road coming in on this side of Tiki stores, I could see it. And, but I didn't bring a picture, but what they sent back to me was like an 8-foot tall sign on all four sides, lighted. And, you know, I told them, I said, that's not gonna fly. So and this is not, here locally, this is the company, the actual company that owns it and doing it. So, you know, what I told them to do is just go back and start from the beginning and get, like we discussed the last time they were here, and just approve this sign here. This is less than 8 square feet, which meets the sign ordinance, I believe. And so they can, like they discussed before, put it on the property up there, the Kingston property up there at the strip center. And that's between him and Mr. Kingston, where they put it. So, and as I explained to Mike Valor, who lives out here, you know, I said, Mike, let's get this approved. Whether you put the sign up or not, let's get it approved. And so you have it there, and then y'all can work on the lighted sign. You decide to go a different route with the lighted sign, you know, you come back and we'll discuss that again. I don't think, speaking with Daryl the other day, I'm not so sure that a lighted sign is even required for permit. To be honest with you, you know, we have to look at that further, but.
The sign you're talking about on Kingston's property, a monument sign, is that what you're talking about?
No, I think it's just like a wood sign, nothing, I don't think it's, you know.
Is it gonna be freestanding?
I think it's freestanding.
Yeah, that is called.
Within the location and sign.
That's all they're doing. So anyway, the meeting before, it was either November's meeting, I think it was, the board, y'all had talked to him about it and told him to come back and said y'all would approve a permanent sign for him to put out there.
Yeah.
So this is just coming back with what y'all told him in November that he should do. So basically, this is what it is. And then if there's a lighted sign that comes later, then y'all will have to make a decision.
Right.
So, all right, let me get a motion, please.
So what is the
Wait,
proposed size?
motion for what?
The
We don't have
motion, we're
it.
gonna get a
We don't have
motion.
the specifics,
We
really.
don't have any details.
We don't have any
These are
details
orders.
except for this, but we need a motion to take this and y'all either need to take it and defer it and bring it back to me.
Do we have to approve signs as the board, or is that between him and Daryl, unless he needs something outside of our ordinance?
My recollection is your
All
ordinance.
commercial signs have to
Be
be
approved
approved.
by
We have to.
We can't approve it unless we have some dimensions. I mean, is that a piece of paper, or is
It's
it?
less than 8 square feet.
We
How tall
really need some dimensions on the location.
Usually what they do is they bring a drawing of how tall it is off the ground, the square footage of it, and then they bring
Get
that to
some
the board.
information.
Approves it.
Location.
What, that don't matter, I mean, the ordinance just says 8 square feet, it don't say it's gotta be. 2 by
No, it's not
4.
true. The ordinance says something about how high it has to be.
It has to be approved by the
But it still
board.
has to come back to here.
So
Yeah.
can I ask you a question? So this is in the commercial zone of the city?
Yes.
And there's a brick and mortar business named this, or what is this?
It's a kiosk like.
Kiosk out there.
It's a vending machine in the parking lot of the main commercial building.
Okay, so you can get hot pizza out of it.
And it's great. It's wonderful.
It's really good.
No argument from anybody with that. It's shockingly good.
So the sign is associated with an existing business, it's not an off-premise sign. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Where's he gonna put it? How big's it gonna be? I mean,
Well, it's gonna be on
basically,
Kingston's property, and that's between him and Kingston, it's not his.
no, because we have a right of way there. If you're gonna put things in the ground, you gotta observe the right of way. Right?
Yep. I mean, I hope you're.
I mean, you still want specifics before you approve.
Yeah, yeah. Like the guy, love the pizza.
Okay, I'll
Gotta get some details. Had to be.
It needs dimensions and location, because again, you can't put a private sign on the public right of way, even if you own the underlying property.
So do we want a motion to defer until we get more specific?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to defer until
And I'll-
next month for more specifics.
Yeah, and I'll remind you again that your current ordinance that just gives you apparently absolute discretion about signs or whatever is questioning, you need to get it rewritten.
It's terrible. That's
I'm not volunteering to do this, since I'm retired.
Okay, so I have a motion.
Yeah.
We have a motion to defer,
I
bring it back. Second? All in favor? Motion passes. All right, here we go. Citizen comments. Hold on. Please state your name. Comments limited to 2 minutes.
Oh, I guess I'm on the comment. Well, first of all, I hope that, I'm sorry, you pointing behind me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
He raised before you.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
My name is Bill Robinson, and the comments I would like to make are to the board and to the mayor about the condition of the property, 1435 Tiki Drive. I've got some photographs. I've had more of them, but I ran out of ink. Sure. This property has been in disrepair.
Here, we'll share here. Give them down there.
And
Drive by it every day.
the photos will tell you what it looks like. The city is not doing anything about it that I know of, other than talking to their lawyer to see what their ordinances say. I've read all the ordinances that the city has, and there are 3 of them in particular, or 4 of them that pertain to this problem. One is the maintenance ordinance. It is quite prescriptive. I don't know why anybody needs to have a lawyer to look at them and know what to do. There's one that prohibits a junkyard. This place is a junkyard. It also prohibits vehicles that are inoperable and can't be run. There's a horrible looking boat sitting in the front yard. It hasn't been licensed since 2007. And I just found out that the owner doesn't own the boat, he's storing it for somebody. And I'd like to know what the board plans to do about this derelict property. And it's a health hazard as well, if you look at the photograph. And this is not a new situation, it's gone on for years.
Since 1994 to be exact.
And I happen to live across the street from it.
Okay. We're gonna,
And I'm not representing Tiki or anyone else, other than myself.
okay. So Tika's went after this themselves, have they not?
I'm gonna address that one.
Okay. Have y'all went after him already with the Tika rules and regulations?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're blue in the face.
Okay. So now y'all bringing it to the board.
Well,
Okay, so
it should have already been here.
Sir?
It should have already been here,
Okay, I understand. Now, let us,
without anyone having asked you to do it.
okay, hold on. All right, Daryl, give them a rundown here of what you've been doing, because apparently they think you haven't been doing anything.
This subject property, I've taken to court several times. I've dealt with his lawyers back in 2009. We got a judgment from the judge and, for substandard issues, and then his lawyer appealed it. Once that happens, nothing else happens. We did it again, just recently, 2018.
You have it written here.
Yeah, in 2018, we did it again. He was late on his appeal, so we was able to make the citation stick. I've started another case, but I've got, 40, 50 different occasions. I've harassed this man about as bad as you could harass anybody.
I'm not sure I agree with that. The property looks worse now than it did in 2009.
You can see some of the other pictures. Well, there was junk vehicles, car engines, acetylene bottles. I mean, it was.
They're all inside the house.
No, these were in the driveway. There was an old Jeep. There was.
The pictures tell you everything, and y'all want to argue with me about it's not your responsibility to.
No, we didn't say
see
that.
That's what I'm
No,
hearing.
we didn't say that. I'm just telling you, Daryl has been working on it. It is the responsibility of everybody to get this done.
In all due respect to Daryl, and I consider him a friend, he has not been effective.
Okay.
So, sounds like one handicap, and you'll have to tell me if this is true. I don't prosecute in municipal court, but this is not a municipal court of record, so you convict somebody in municipal court, even with a jury trial, they file an appeal. It now starts all over in county court, and the people that are in charge of the district attorney's office. And if these appeals if they're dying once the appeals are filed, I'm assuming that the district attorney is not willing to support the city's cases. So I mean, that's the first issue to look at. If the easiest way for a city to enforce anything is municipal court, it's the cheapest, easiest way to go. But if all they have to do is file an appeal and it ends up in front of the district attorney's office in another court and it dies, then that's not a very effective remedy. So
I can do the same thing across the street that he's doing with no, problems, right?
well, I would
Well, they have a
I
little
would hope
man-
that you would have problems for doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is explain some of the,
Why
Some
you
of the
can't, why
limit-
you can't do anything?
no, you're misreading me. I'm trying to explain, I'm trying to actually ask some questions to try to find out if that has been the issue in the past, about whether or not the district attorney's office is not supporting the cases after they go on appeal.
Yeah, I noted in Daryl's notes, and appreciate you putting this together, Daryl, that I remember when this came up in 2018, he was taken to court and fined $2,000, and then he went back and pleaded with the judge and had the fine reduced to $406, which is beyond what we can do.
You also have an ordinance, I forget the,
Substandard structure.
the substandard structure, but there's also one in there, if you get a judgment like that, you
Yes.
doesn't correct the situation in 7 days, the city has the right to force the repair to go do them themselves and place a lien on the property. That's one of your ordinances.
So that's under,
Unfortunately, Mr. Robinson, that process is not a 7-day process. It's probably at least a 6-month
That's what
process.
your ordinance says.
Yeah, but again, the city has to comply with state law as well. And you're required, just to think about at your house. In 7 days, the city could come in 7 days and tear your house down. It doesn't work that way. It's
Then you
a,
need to change your ordinance.
well, yeah, they probably, if the city decides to go that way, yes, it would need to change its ordinances among other things. But I mean, my day job is defending lawsuits, or filing lawsuits for cities and defending them, and I've dealt with many dangerous building cases, and they're not. And also, the normal dangerous building case is an unoccupied structure that you're tearing down. Getting a court to let you tear down a structure when someone's living in it is an extremely difficult situation. Also, the city is responsible for relocating the person that's in that house, even though the city didn't create the situation. So all I can say is I appreciate your frustration. I wouldn't want to live across the street from a hoarder like this guy as well. And the city ought to do what it can to try to deal with the situation, but its tools are not very effective, its available tools. So my recommendation is to proceed with municipal court citations. We've had some success with them in the past. Get the prosecutor involved and say, look, here's the situation and what can we do to put maximum pressure on this guy? And municipal court is the most effective way to do that.
What happens if they don't pay the fine? Say they're fined $2,000 like they were before. What happens if they don't pay the fine?
Well, yeah.
You don't have the money.
A good question.
They can't put you in jail for not paying a fine.
yes,
So,
well,
I mean, I agree with you, Bill, it's a sad situation, but your hands are kind of tied. I mean, if you look.
My hands aren't tied.
Well,
You're
if you
saying,
look-
you're
if you
saying
look-
your hands are tied.
Right, I understand
Don't
that.
tell me don't tell me about my hands.
If you look, I'm talking about our hands, not yours, but if you look back at it, I mean, you could put all the liens on the house if you want. I mean, the house right now, the house was built in '76. There's 3 liens on the house already, and they're only for $8,000. So a total of $8,000 for 3 different liens. So is this a financial issue, or is he just being an ass? We don't know what the situation is. I mean, I talked to the guy. He seems like a nice guy, but I don't know him that well. But you know, what's the reason behind this? I mean, they just want to live like that, or they don't have the money to fix it? Able Roofing went out there to work on a roof here, what, a month ago or
3 months ago.
3 months ago. The permit expired. I called Able Roofing the other day and asked them about it. So why did the work stop on that house?
Because they won't pay the bills.
Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, they did all that he could, well, their words were they did all that he could pay, and he was trying to seek financing. But, I mean, if you look at his records, I mean, he filed Chapter 13 multiple times. I mean, what do you do? I mean,
Well, again, we can't, he hasn't been cited recently, right?
That's the citation I'm working on since December.
Okay.
You know, I'm working with your office now to try to prepare, you know.
So if we just kept writing
Do it over
citations,
again, right.
But again, I mean, the municipal prosecutor is the one that you're already working with on the citations. I mean, David.
But I'm looking for guidance. I'm not an attorney, you know.
No, I
help me get
understand,
deep in this.
but I understand, but certainly the city can be more aggressive about issuing citations. That's the tool, that's the cheapest and most effective tool that we have, and so we can do that.
Let me say something, I think some of this, the time may be on our side here. He put a tar paper roof on. And as you know, a tar paper roof is not gonna hold up very well.
So if you look at those
So it won't be
photos,
long that he's gonna be living in water coming into his house.
if you look at those photos in the back, if you look at those photos in the back of the house, from Jim Sandy's house, they've already painted some kind of mastic, white
Yeah,
mastic.
but he's
And there
gonna-
are a few,
He's gonna have some severe leaks in his house before very long. And it's gonna force him to either move or live with water coming into his house. So I have a feeling time is gonna be on our side a little bit.
Is there any way-
Put on the roof.
is there any way the health department can get involved in this?
He's gonna be in big trouble.
That's certainly something worth looking into about getting the county health department involved, but
I've called the health department, Bill, as you well know, I've called the health department numerous times, because they used to let their dogs crap on their back deck and wash it into the water.
Yep.
And all they do is they come and they slap a notice on the door, because they never answer the door.
Right.
I mean, the bottom line is they have no money. Sylvia is the owner of the house. She's an 86-year-old retired school teacher. I can't imagine what a retired school teacher that says her pension can't be in 3 digits. I'd be surprised. I mean, they have no money. We can't fix this by beating on them. We just can't. I know, Bill, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
We need to either open up our hearts and help them, not give them any money, fix it for them, or do something different. But we can beat them all we want, but there's no blood in that turn.
I agree, Jim. I mean,
Would they let us help them?
We're not sure.
Okay, can I say something?
Don't you
Say
just
something
citizen
here.
comments, please?
Okay, so, in section 2421, it's a health under health nuisance. It actually says, now he offends about 6 of the 10 different situations there. But it says that the owner of the property fails to cure any violation of the article within 7 days of the notification, the village may do the work or make the improvements required, pay for the work, done improvements made, done or improvements made, and charge the expenses to the owner of the property, lien for abatement costs.
Okay,
So we fix it up, put a lien on the property, and when they pass and it gets into probate, and before anybody can transfer the property, that lien will be paid off.
okay.
And the
Here's
city
next
has
thing.
money to do that.
Okay, so here's the next thing. He's got mortgages on there where he's been, and there's mortgages.
So I looked at that. So there's 2 of them. One was a 15-year mortgage that expired probably about 3 years ago, about 17 years, 18 years ago, we thought that should be paid off. Then there was another one that was $250,000, and he's about 15 years into a 30-year note. So he's been working on the principal of that one. So all in all, maybe he owes half of that, it's $125,000. That lot is worth $200,000. Bulldoze it. You know what? If we get it, great. If we don't, he lives in a nice property, because let me tell you, all that stuff that's in those pictures are going to end up in our canal, and it's going to be all of our problems the next hurricane. I saw what I did. And it takes everybody's junk under their house and puts it under my house.
Yeah.
So we cleaned up our house, and then when we came back, under our house was full of everybody else's junk.
I understand. Okay,
And that's
now,
what's going to happen. It's going to be a public health problem. Or it is already.
So I mean, if the city chooses to go that way, the first thing you'd have to do is bring your ordinances up to date where they match the current state law for the process of today. And then you have to go through a process, you get the title report, you have to give notice to all the lien holders, you go through a process of giving him an opportunity to correct. And this is ordinarily a situation not with hoarding, but with the structure itself being dangerous, where electrical problems ready to fall on somebody. And you go through that process. It is a lengthy, expensive process. And there's usually a lawsuit at the end of it. And I'm fine with that. I get paid for helping cities go through that process. I'm not poo-pooing the idea. I'm just making sure everybody understands it's not an easy process. And it's not surprising that it's not easy in America to go in and tear somebody's house down when they're living in it. So
If they agree, if they are approached and they agree to it, and the city agrees to pay for those repairs, do they have to go to court? We're not forcing it if everyone agrees to do it, right?
but the problem is with that also is, you've got the people that's living across the street from him, and the people that, in that area, that would like that done. The people that don't look at that, their tax money is what's going to be spent. So you've got 20 people here.
It affects all of us. Everybody.
I understand, but people, you
everybody.
can't just go, I just can't go ahead and tell the council to do that. They'll have to vote on it. But you're also gonna be spending other people's tax money that really is not concerned about it. So we
Well,
have,
I have a hard time enforcing any deep restrictions when that is, everyone, I'm in that section, by the way. in the
I
section.
understand.
And I'm told on multiple occasions, how can you say anything about my dead palm tree when you got that going on over there?
Can I address that one?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go, you want, okay.
You sure?
Okay, so as president of Tika, we have a problem. Obviously, we know the problem at 1435 Tiki Drive, you've heard it. We have two other houses on Portugal and Mango that are unlivable. Cars and boats have been there 10 years with stickers falling apart. Nothing's happened. We've sent letter after letter. Our civic association section leaders, I just got the last one. 3 of them sent in letters that needed to be done. The others said, no, don't send anything. They're having a hard time following up and keeping the civic association bylaws working when we're not following up and taking care of these problems. It's affecting every one of our property values. And yes, you know, the ordinance needs to be rewritten. We need to rewrite it. We need to get our act together. We have got, the civic association wants to take care and keep everything up. We can't do it unless the city gets involved and helps us. We have our attorney involved. We've sent letters. We've filed lawsuits. He changed his attorneys. He claimed he was blind. The judge said, fine, we'll let it go. Bill has a picture of him on top of the roof. He's blind. I mean.
Well, I seen him driving at 455 yesterday because I took the time when I pulled out on Tiki Drive, just in case y'all asked me. And he was coming down Tiki Drive going home at 455 when I seen him at the corner.
And the biggest problem,
Tiki Drive.
Goldie, the biggest problem is our section chairman can't enforce it. They won't enforce it because they're tired of their people saying, why do I have to do it when he's not doing it? You know, why do I have to move my boat when all these other boats that have been sitting out here for years?
I'm not against what y'all are
No,
saying.
I understand.
But the problem is we're gonna have to work it out and see how we can do it. But just going over there and telling them we're gonna repair the house and the village is gonna pay for it, it just doesn't work that easy.
Well, I mean, the Portico house is unlivable.
We just told you about the ordinance. It takes months. It's not 7 days.
And actually, I've never seen a city do that.
But that house.
Plenty of structures torn down, but I've never seen a city go in and make the repairs itself. Maybe go in and remove junk from a yard. Yes, that might be possible, but to go in and repair a house. I mean, I've been practicing municipal law for 40 years and I've not seen, I started with City of Houston, I've never seen that done. Yes, theoretically it's possible. Is it practical?
But that house is at least occupied. The one in Portico isn't occupied. It's a health hazard. When the water froze in 21, it lost all of its pipes. It's totally.
How is it a health hazard?
I think it's a big health hazard.
How?
Rodents and raccoons.
The ceilings.
Ended up in a home. But nobody's been in there. She came and took some of the expensive guns. But the house is open. There's a couple of refrigerators and freezers in there that are still running. Somebody's paying the electric bill.
Well, can I make a suggestion?
What's that?
Why don't we we can beat this dog until it runs away. Why don't we get together, let's change the ordinances.
Yeah.
To meet the new rules and try to get this done. Because I understand everybody is really tired of this and if something needs to be done with it, I was just playing devil's advocate telling you that you just can't walk over here and open the door and throw him out and fix his damn house, period.
And so the second one you described is a classic target. Cities.
And we've got a third one on Mango.
Well, if we get ours, here's the deal with Mango and all of it. I mean, it's no use to beat every address. But if we get our ordinances with better teeth and up to the new rules and regulations of the codes and ordinances and everything, get it up where the city can put some teeth in it then. And then in this case, basically, we're just gonna keep issuing citations to it.
Yeah.
And
Which
just
we're gonna
let them
do.
stack up.
Yeah.
But we can keep the fester going until we can get these ordinances going and Daryl can hit him with write one, get it through, write another one, and get it through until it help clean it up, maybe not, but will just be a thorn. But in the meantime, we do need to get our ordinance straight. So I think the committee, the Board of Aldermen agree with that. And what we should do is just go ahead and get that ready and then start putting some more teeth
Thank
in
you.
the
I want to
ordinance.
say one more thing.
Yes,
before
sir.
I close on this.
Yes, sir.
Your ordinances have plenty of ammunition. I'm not a lawyer, but I've been involved in contract law all my adult life. And your ordinances have plenty of ammunition to do what's needs to be done.
We need to bring them up to date.
What John is telling us is that state law has changed.
He's talking about one thing, paying for the repairs. He's not talking about the
No,
all.
State law has changed since our ordinance on this topic.
One orders, I haven't even paid much attention to that one. I'm talking about
Okay.
your maintenance ordinance and your abandoned vehicles ordinance and
Yeah.
nuisance ordinance and your no junkyard ordinance. You got, bandoliers and ammunition to go after this and do something about it. You don't have to spend 6 months trying to rewrite all the ordinance.
So Mr. Johnson, you're right, but the remedy there is municipal, I'm sorry?
Robinson.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I apologize. Anyway, the remedy there is municipal court, and we've talked about, again, the city can write more citations and try to put pressure on them, but there are issues with whether municipal court will be effective. But you're right, they can write tickets for all those violations, and they don't have this timeline and baggage I was talking about for the process of trying to get someone to repair their home and tearing it down if they don't repair it.
Well, all you're gonna have, the only remedy you're gonna have whenever you get all these ordinances you wanna rewrite is municipal court.
No.
What?
What we're talking about, there's a process. I mean, I just handled a case for Lamarck where I didn't handle that part of the process. I handled the lawsuit. City went through the process, the whole process, which involves getting title reports, having inspections of the homes, giving all kinds of notices, having a special board called the Building and Standards Commission that holds hearings on it. They went through a process, took them like 4 years, and they got to the point where they were about to bulldoze a house and they filed a lawsuit, and one of the local judges stopped it. We managed to get by that and then ultimately tore the house down. It took them 4.5 years, 5 years to tear down a house that had been unoccupied. Sounds like this house y'all were describing before, for a long period of time. So that's just the nature of, I mean, I hate to tell people the truth when they, want to throw rocks at me for doing that, but it's my job because,
What you're saying is we should have started raising hell 5 years ago.
I'm sorry, what?
What you're telling is we should have started raising hell 5 years ago.
Well, you certainly could have, the city certainly could have been more aggressive about writing municipal court citations and considering these other options, yes.
Okay, so
So much, my comment would be, there's so much of this that is law, and that's why I'm not a lawyer either. And that's why I need the guidance. I'll jump through whatever.
Okay, here's what we need to do. We'll get a hold of the prosecutor. You deal with the prosecutor, and he'll tell you exactly what we'll do. So tomorrow, let's get a hold of the prosecutor. You're the head of the building department, get a hold of the prosecutor, go over this scenario with him, and let's start issuing citations per the prosecutor's recommendations. Okay?
And if you need David to write that meeting or whatever, let me know. So,
Can we do the other two houses too? Can we do the other two houses at the same time?
Yes, do them all.
Cheaper by the dozen.
Yeah, no, we can do them all at the same time. So we'll get the prosecutor and Daryl together tomorrow, and they can start making contact, and then he can start writing citations, taking him to civil court. I don't know what you're gonna get out of somebody that doesn't have money, but we'll just keep taking him to court and being a fester on. That's the only thing we can do right now.
The other thing, Darrell, what's involved in condemning a house?
Well, that's what I was talking about. That's the 5-6 month process. And once assuming you have ordinances that comply with current state law in place to start with, and 5 or 6 months is the fast process. I just described a situation where Lamarck went through that process and it still took them 5 years before the house was torn down.
And you said fast if it's unoccupied.
These are unoccupied. When you're talking about an occupied home, that ultimately you've got to persuade a district judge after you've gone through the process that he shouldn't give them another chance and another year or two. And it's very common for that to happen. But I have been involved in cases where we tore down an occupied house at the end of the lawsuit.
All right.
We don't have to stop everybody that's speeding. We can stop every fifth one. So the city is much more effective at dealing with these issues. One thing the HOA can do that we can't do is they can deal with pure aesthetics. What color you paint your house and those kind of things. But we could certainly deal with health and safety issues.
You can see that there's no aesthetics there. You can see there's no aesthetics there.
Well, all right, so that's what we need to do, and you can, any other comments about that, so we can go ahead and get.
Irish got some.
I got one. It's something simple, like the boat that's in front of the house. Hasn't been registered since 2007.
And it's not, and it doesn't belong to them.
And it doesn't belong to them. And we have an ordinance about vehicle registration. Why can't we make that happen tomorrow?
So I'm not sure about boats, but there's certainly a law for cars that it may well apply to boats as well, and there's a process.
It's not, the words say vehicle, and they say a boat, an airplane, or.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that the only ones I've really dealt with were cars. And assuming it applies to boats as well, there's a process that can help Daryl through that process.
And Mango has 2 cars and a boat that have been unregistered for at least 6-7 years.
No, the boat's 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of in Daryl's defense. I mean, larger cities have, dozens of people that work on these issues. Daryl has to be a jack of all trades. And
I volunteer to help them.
We're gonna take your help.
Yeah, just like, there is a boundary, they've been into a vacant house. I don't cross that line. I feel like, that's trespassing.
I have been in the vacant house, because I don't mind trespassing.
yeah.
So are you,
Generally, building officials are able to make their determinations without going in the house. If you need to go in the house, in theory, you can get an administrative warrant from the municipal court to go in the house, if you have a basis for that.
I can go in and take pictures for you, I don't mind doing that.
Yeah, that is, if you did that for us and we were persuaded, no, please don't.
he's here too, Bill.
Huh? Those
Okay,
are all,
so
those are all not taken over from the property, they're all taken off his property, all those photos.
So you mentioned earlier, Gerald, that you would, Goldie, that the residents of Tiki wouldn't want to spend our tax money to fix this up. But it affects everybody's property value, so they do have some skin in the game. And it's going to be a big problem if we have a hurricane, because all that's, in fact, they pollute the canal today.
Yeah.
They throw feces off of their.
And they've been turned into the health department for that.
The dog, I've worked since I talked to you, the dogs have all died.
Oh, okay.
The dogs are dying.
That's their feces.
But,
That's it, you can't get public funds, you know that.
Yeah, you can't, the city becomes the zero interest loan company for anybody that needs house improvements.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about moving junk out, that's different, as opposed to actually making repairs to the real estate.
You can see there's ample opportunity for that.
It's removing the trash under the home, in and around the property, the boat, and putting a roof on it.
No, the roof goes back into the repairs, we're saying. You're good when you're at the trash and everything else.
I mean, a good starting point would be, is there something on there besides, there used to be cars on there too, right? Unregistered car, but that was unregistered boat, that'd be a good starting place to look at whether or not that state, confirming the state statute is as Mr. Robinson describes it. Again, I've only dealt with it in dealing with vehicles, it's been several years, so.
I wasn't looking at state statutes, I was looking at city ordinances.
Again, there's a statutory process for dealing with unregistered, with cars that are in that situation. It probably applies to boats as well, I'm just not sure. Yeah.
They have another boat at the back of the house that's fallen out of the sling and sunk.
I saw that picture, one of Daryl's pictures, yeah.
Let me ask a question, John. As far as like a fire hazard, can the fire marshal do anything to help us on this, or are we saying that?
Often the fire marshal is involved in an inspection of a house to determine that it's in dangerous condition.
You definitely can't traverse around that side of the house where the pipe is.
and I would appreciate.
If there was a fire there, we would have to fight it from the street or the neighbor's yards, because you can't get.
That's right, so if you could get the fire marshal to look at it, maybe, and see if he can put a little.
But does he have any more teeth than we have when it comes down to
the fire marshal and the building official usually work, hand in hand on those kind of issues.
Yeah, we went through that process with Charlie Everett's mayor. We had the police involved, we had the fire marshal, we had everybody. We thought we could get somewhere, and it fizzled through.
Well, let's try it again, let's go with the prosecutor.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Well, the guy just wears y'all out.
Oh, he gets fined, yeah, he gets fined for 2,000 and goes back and gets an appeal for 400. You know,
Well, he paid on it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So it was paid down to $1,000 basically by the time
Yeah, his taxes are
line
paid up,
and so
correct?
forth.
I think his property taxes are paid up.
I looked up, his property taxes are being paid by one of the mortgage companies. So it's this escrow property tax.
Okay.
You had a comment?
Who are you pointing to?
You.
Yeah, I have two comments. One is I hope that sign deal gets worked out because I'm thinking about a contract on a funnel cake machine and a snow cone machine. I want the flashing lights and stuff.
Next comment, please.
No, there's this program and people can read stuff and they can put pictures on it and comment back and forth to each other. And so not too long ago, there was this big blow up about these fishing lights. And I was just suggesting that maybe the aldermen want to get ahead of the curve because there's probably 10 times more of these than there were a few years ago. And there's going to be people on both sides of the equation on this. There's people that chimed in and said, it's my right to burn my lights all night. But to me, if your light reflects off the water and up onto your neighbor's, into your neighbor's house, then that's probably some sort of nuisance. And the other thing is that comes up, they mentioned it, was people that just have them on a photo cell and they're just on all night, every night. And they're kind of intrusive. The underwater lights at least don't have a way of shining on somebody else's house. You might not like the looks of them, but they don't really bother you. But these overhead, and especially the new super bright LED now, and the green and colored ones. So I just might be something that the city.
Well, we're gonna work on ordinances that needs to be specific about that too, because it really does not address that problem.
And Daryl's already been over and talked to some people. We had a phone call from Bio Vista that said that the lights from Tiki were blinding them on their porch. And,
well, we can't do it.
That doesn't surprise me.
well, no, it is. This is not a joke. So Daryl went and talked to them, convinced them to turn the lights off or turn them down some. But we had a call from the mayor over there, and then actually, I had a call from the county commissioner. And they were complaining to him that there was like 4 lights on our outer banks out on our outer that was actually shining, and they couldn't sit on their porch from Tiki Island.
Yeah. Wow. I think there's just a couple of minor things. One might be a maximum number of lights. Maybe you can have 2 per lot or whatever, 1 per lot. The other thing might have something to do with whether they can be on a photo cell and be on all night when nobody's fishing or something.
I agree with you 100%. Those things are very intrusive.
Yeah, as far as the underwater lights, I've had complaints on those too.
So
I'm not if our ordinance committee comes in with some words.
Well, in the old days, you had to pay about $25 to $30.
So
Yeah, with those, yeah.
the city of Galveston has a pretty extensive light ordinance, and they have a couple pages specifically addressing fishing lights. And I talked to one of the building inspectors down there, and he says the years that they've been there, they've never ever had to write a citation for fishing lights. It's always solved by going out there and talking to the owner and talking to the neighbors, and those two working it out and fixing it themselves. And it wouldn't hurt to probably have something in there.
They do have an ordinance that they can cite them.
They have an ordinance that they can cite them. It's noise, it's light pollution, it's like noise pollution, so.
Well, we have an ordinance committee, let's look into that.
We'll look into it a little further.
Max lumens or something, maybe.
Any other comments?
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. We're gonna do something. And I wish I could take
Your
your
comment is, the city has been pursuing this for a long time.
Been trying to-
You know, like I said, I feel sorry for the man. I beat him up. I went out there with the police officer. He got handcuffed. I mean, I've been in his face. I mean, 18 years.
So he told me when I talked to him that I think he's 77 and she's 86. 86 like that.
Yeah.
And he told me, Charlie Everts and her first husband were, Gracie, I can't remember her maiden name, but anyway, Charlie Everts and her first husband were real good friends. They were both shrimp, and that's how they got acquainted. But he told me that she made it clear to him that she's not leaving that house. He died there, and she's going to die there.
Yeah, and I reached out to her, the daughter and stuff. Finally got in contact with her, and she don't like it either, but she's respecting her mama's wishes. She said, she's told me she's gonna die in that house.
Okay.
We can beat it some more, but we know what we gotta do, so let's get on it tomorrow, please, Daryl. All right, any other comments? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor? Thank y'all for coming.